So our next speaker, our final speaker before the lunch break, is Alexis Estrada. Alexis was a high school counselor and a volunteer at the Aquarium of the Pacific before coming to Scripps. With a background in marine biology, she came to Scripps to explore the world of the possible in terms of ocean conservation careers. The title of her presentation today is Casting a Net on Fishing Training, Synthesizing Program Models Along the West Coast.
Thank you. I went to the Tuna Harbor Dockside Market, a place that provides public access to locally caught seafood right from the source. As someone who enjoys seafood but was an avid consumer of prepackaged frozen fillets, I was on a mission to go and buy directly from a commercial fishing vessel. And I was successful. I bought, prepared, and cooked this rockfish pictured above. Thank you to the fishermen that provided a great recipe. It was delicious. But the process of seeing where my food came from and supporting fishermen firsthand made me go back and frequent the market on most Saturday mornings. And it was here that I learned about the existence of the California Commercial Fishing Apprenticeship Program. Along the Pacific Coast West, there are similar fishing markets. There's the Shop at the Dock market in the coastal city of Newport, Oregon. There's also signs that advertise the sale of fresh seafood at a catcher sale in a rural Alaskan community. Both of these provide access and a window into the fishing industry and to the public to see. I wanted to learn more about how new entrants start and learn the skills required and how similar fishing apprenticeship programs were structured all along the coast, or if even they existed. And this is what inspired me to do my capstone project. For most interested in pursuing a career as a fisherman, there are limited avenues of entry. Most crew members and longtime fishers either learned their trade through generations of family-owned boats or held a strong fishing background and directly visited the docks looking for potential jobs as a crew member. Apprenticeship programs have emerged as a prominent alternative pathway to allow people to train alongside skilled mentors, an arrangement that creates equitable pathways in this growing and changing field. So what is a fishing program exactly? And it's a program designed to train fishermen as they enter fisheries and support them economically, ecologically, and socially within the fishery. A training program can introduce new entrants to fundamentals of fishing, such as mending nets, tying knots, maintaining engine maintenance, and overall improving seaman stewardship. Training programs also have safety training components and skills needed to effectively sell catch. So on my search to discover more about how fishermen can gain these skills, I did a scan of programs available on the West Coast, and I found the majority of them were online. These online resources and manuals were the primary method of training to support fishers in business management, skills, and regulations. Programs were put together by universities, organizations such as Sea Grant, and fishery council networks. An example is the Fish Biz Project. It's a website that provides business planning templates, information, and minimizing risk sources of information for new entrants into the fishery. Additionally, there's the Direct Market Manual, and this covers business planning, e-commerce, packaging and shipping, seafood distribution center systems, and maintaining seafood quality, etc. So I wanted to learn why only formal training programs were found here in San Diego, and if they were prominent all along the East Coast, what was holding them back. And these were the questions that I centered my research and project on. I focused on answering these two questions of what are the basic training components that would be needed to include the making of a formal training program more effective and useful, and if fishing training programs can be standardized and scalable beyond the commercial fishery, looking at international and small-scale fishers. This slide is a quick breakdown of the methods I used. I began to conduct a large literature review that included articles, manuals, and work plans for existing workshops and programs offered, if any. Focusing primarily on the states along the West Coast, I standardized programs that were geared towards commercial fishers and included a message of sustainability in their goals and mission statements. Conducting interviews with experts in industry and individuals in organized programs, organizations such as Sea Grant, along with fishermen that participated and helped support these programs. Many phone calls and video meetings. I compiled all these findings into a comprehensive report. And these were my findings. The three areas that were identified as key components among individuals when looking to provide fishing training were fishing skills, safety, and marketing. Safety training is a significant component as commercial fishing is considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the country, one of the most. And participants received safety training from the U.S. Coast Guard, and they learned how to wear survival suits, operate emergency radio beacons, extinguish fires, tools that were needed in the world of being a commercial fisherman. Additionally, I found that currently the California Apprenticeship Program is the only formal program that provides hands-on fundamental training skills for fishers. Additionally, there is no formal training process outside of putting information and products that may be accessible for personal use for fishers to use, such as the manuals and online web resources in terms of business and marketing. That being said, I wanted to compare a survey that was done in the University of Alaska Sea Grant Marine Advisory Program. They collected input from commercial fisheries, from captains, crew members, fishermen, people interested in becoming a fisherman. And this was done back in 2010. So a survey done 10 years ago, I wanted to model and see if there has been changes now. And this question, ways a training program in commercial fisheries could be useful. On a scale of strongly disagree to agree, participants chose from 9 potential ways for a program to be useful that improvement in financial management and managed business skills were identified in the top red and blue bars, respectively. This was a consistent response that was still being vocalized among individuals currently still in the fleet when I spoke and held those interviews. The category of employment and gaining experience just fell below that, and with resources available now for business management, reevaluating this area may show a change in prioritizing to encourage new entrants of crew members through building hands-on training options. The potential challenges that were voiced among the different groups included program funding and time. These potential challenges have inhibited the development of more formal training along the West Coast. Depending on the workshop and class, if a week or several weeks are needed in order to fulfill a requirement or learn a skill, and looking to standardize a formal program in a set time frame will vary across different states, their regulations, and fishing seasons. Additionally, the need for hands-on training from experts has posed a challenge. In speaking with fishermen, a current issue is not being able to hire well-skilled crew members. Right now, there is an informal system for learning on the job. And lastly, in order for a system to be put in place, it may lead into mandated requirements within industry. And a lot of folks are deterred to that idea and do not wish to add additional red tape in order to do their job. In order to consider creating a structured program for fishers, there needs to be an evaluation on the government's role in the process. These were some recommendations to look beyond commercial fisheries and into what international and small-scale fisheries may recommend in providing a training program option as a supplemental educational tool. Some recommendations include fishery science, so being able to learn more about fishery management, how to evaluate stock assessment, to benefit those that are learning to become fishermen. Additionally, there are fishers that have been drawn to direct marketing as a means of adapting to regulatory and environmental economic challenges. The arrangement, however, may not be feasible or suitable for all individuals, fisheries, or communities. So focusing more on providing environmental sustainability as opposed to economic sustainability only, and shifting that mindset. And lastly, scalable for small fisheries, whether these individuals or groups would be able to benefit from these programs. Many fishermen are not frequent users of websites, although this is a changing view with the new younger participants entering the fisheries. Ultimately, it's important to continue to reevaluate and evaluate the utility and efficiency of written products in classes and workshops, including where, how, and in what format they have been provided and disseminated. These likely will need to be updated given the rapid changes in communication methods in small-scale fisheries and demographics. And I think the next steps in moving forward are looking at reassessing training programs to allow greater ability for fishing industries to not only remain sustainable but support fishermen efforts within the West Coast, and looking at a more global scan of the possibilities of providing a sustainable practice for a formal training program. And really quickly, I'd like to thank my Capstone committee that have been very supportive throughout this whole process, and a special thanks to Samantha and Risa. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. So we have a question here. Do you think that training programs would increase numbers in the fishing fleet? And if so, how would you regulate entrant numbers?
I think by providing another pathway into the industry beyond just an informal knowing folks that are involved or having a generational family business would encourage more people to join and be consider a fisherman as a career approach. And so I think there would be an increase in participants, and as far as regulating, that would be down to available resources. That's a question and an area that we would probably need to look further into on what options are available.
Great. And we have one other question. Did you, Alexis, consider looking into the potential for aquaculture training programs?
Great question. I did, and I think that there could be some parallels in the work of what's being done in agriculture as well as training in fishing industry. It's very different skill sets, so it was an area that I found would have to be looked into separately, as there's a lot more research and a lot more experimental uncertainties in moving forward with developing agriculture along the West Coast.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.